Nafisa Collier keeps coming out and saying, it's not a conflict of interest. Like, yes, it is. You can't be an owner in something else and be a VP on a player's board for something else. It doesn't work because you're not going to make sound decisions for both sides. Welcome to episode 282 of Empty the Bench here on the Empty the Bench podcast network, presented by Playback. He's Anthony Balester. I'm Nick Morgasen. Follow us on social media at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. We are under 30 subscribers away from 1,000 subscribers. Please hit the button below if you're watching on the video side, or if you're on the audio side, go over to youtube.com/ETB Network and hit the button. If you can't watch on the video side, listen to Empty the Bench wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeart. You know where to go, wherever audio is available. And Empty the Bench and the network are presented by Playback. Go check us out on our platforms. We're doing baseball right now. We have some other plans. All our shows are now, that were originally on Substack, are all now over here. So check it out, playback.tv/ETB Network. You'll hear a message about that later. Okay, so interesting week of stories. The NFL is finally creeping its way back into our episodes, which for us is probably the best time of the year, when football and college football and everything is back in the fold. There's a lot of controversy in this episode, some good, some bad, some kind of ridiculous, if you want to ask me too. We have a retirement, who eventually probably going to be in the Hall of Fame someday. WNBA players versus the league and the CBAs. Some players returning to franchises they've been to in the NBA, and more. So let's get to it. But first, how are we doing today, Anthony?
Very good. Like alluded to the point you made, we're on the cusp of NFL season. I mean, when this show premieres, we're going to be exactly a week out from the first NFL preseason game, the Hall of Fame game. So it's getting really, really closer right there. NFL teams and players now are reporting to training camp, so it's a very exciting time.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. We bring Football Forecast back, Forever Power 5 back. I'm looking forward to all the shows coming back, but let's get underway. Let's start with the NFL. And I did not think we were going to start with this story, but the NFLPA is in the news. Unfortunately, again, we've been talking about the issues that apparently the NFL owners were colluding against the players. We're not even talking about that right now. We're talking about the ex-NFLPA boss, Lloyd Howell Jr., having strip club expenses sent to an investigator. And on top of that, the NFLPA chief officer, JC Tretter, is going to resign. So there's two parts here. There's a lot we got to break down. Which one do you want to attack first?
Well, I guess it's all stemming from what Lloyd Howell did. So I guess we should start with him.
Okay. So former NFL Players Association leader Lloyd Howell Jr. resigned after an outside investigator hired by the union received documents this week showing Howell charged the union for 2 visits to strip clubs. So before I go into any of the finances, your first thoughts when you hear that?
Yeah, I know not too many things when it comes to this does shock you, but when it's coming from an NFLPA representative, someone who's not a player, I think that's what makes it more shocking. I mean, we commonly see this with NFL players, but not someone who's supposed to be an official, someone who's supposed to represent the best interest of the players. And man, Nick, it's just been a really bad offseason for the NFL players. Like you said, they were, colluded against when it came to guaranteed money from the NFL owners. And now the guys who are supposed to be representing them aren't representing them in the right way. I mean, this guy's out here, using his own, expenses, or using their money from the union for his own expenses, going to strip clubs. It's just an absolutely bad scene for them. And, the NFL players definitely deserve better. They're trying to fight. They're out there risking their lives and risking their bodies. for the fans, there would be no NFL without the players. They're the most important part of this. And the fact that they're getting screwed over like this, I mean, damn, they deserve better.
Yeah, I mean, this is not a good situation, like you just said. But you have the head of the NFLPA basically making you out to be, I don't know what a nice word really is to say, but just to look dumb in the process of your representation with all the issues going back and forth between Roger and the NFL and all the issues that the NFL and the NFLPA are facing. But when you see that your lead is going to strip clubs and expensing it to the NFLPA, here's the crazy part. It's kind of funny too, even though it's really not. But this included a $738.82 car service that took him from the airport to one of the clubs. First of all, $738.
Must have had one of those Ubers XXL.
That's what Nick D said on MTGP. Like, he's just like, what the hell did he do? Like, what did he get? Like VIP service? Like, what the heck is going on here? So the documents are union approved expense reports and receipts, which ESPN began asking questions about hours before Howell abruptly resigned. So he did end up resigning, but now everything is coming to the rooftop here. So one receipt obtained by ESPN shows Howell was picked up in a sedan by a car service at Fort Lauderdale International Airport on November 2nd, 2023 at 10:26 p.m. Okay. My first question is, why are we finding out about it now?
Yeah, it's quite a substantial amount of time. I mean, I'm not sure how they're able to keep this under the wraps for so long, but damn, this is a really bad look. I mean, and also too, I guess he went to what is considered the world's largest strip club in the world. So I guess he got to go to a really high-end strip club, but and then you mentioned about how he resigned. I think that's just a nice way of saying I quit before I got fired.
Yeah. But first of all, almost 2 years? Why are we first finding out about this? Like, now, let me preface this with professional sports leagues are better at hiding any information before it gets to the media or PR or anywhere it's going to get. But 2 years and this type of thing is going on? I don't get how you hide this. But it also says the car's first stop was at a nearby Miami Gardens address. The receipt shows only one other stop. Nearly 8 hours later at 6 a.m., when the car dropped off Howell at his luxury condominium in Sunny Isles Beach. So apparently he's living the high life in Miami. It says a union finance worker noticed the car service's exorbitant cost. The employee searched online for the Miami Gardens address. Now, here's where the funny part comes in. Discovering it was Tootsie's Cabaret. Really?
Yeah, I think that was what I was alluding to earlier. I think that was what was considered the world's largest strip club down there. So, man, he was having the time of his life. So, I wonder if because there's so much money involved, I wonder if that's why it took time for them to really, look into this. Because, I mean, when you're talking about billions of dollars or millions of dollars, I mean, I guess a couple of charges of $700 is kind of pennies. But then when you look into this and you find out he was using it for his own personal self and not for the players. But, man, him resigning, he's not a good look at all.
But wait, it gets better. You know how they say, but wait, there's more? There is more. Excuse me. So more than a year later, Howell and two union employees visited a strip club in Atlanta. So it wasn't bad enough in 2023 that they went to a strip club in Miami Gardens. Now they're going to a strip club in Atlanta, and he's going with two union employees on top of it. During this year's NFLPA summit on February 21st, Howell accompanied the employees to Magic City Strip Club for an outing that incurred $2,426 in charges, including cash withdrawals ranging from $200 to $525 from a club ATM. And document shows they used 2 VIP rooms. What is going on here?
Yeah, I guess it wasn't just him. It was a lot of the representatives from the NFLPA, and I'm glad that they're cracking down on this. I mean, when you go from $700 to now over $2,000, I mean, damn, this guy was just getting greedy. I mean, he maybe did it one time, maybe could have gotten away with it, but now when you do it a second time with multiple people involved, yeah, you ain't gonna get away with that for much longer.
I mean, I'll give you another laugh because so it says, according to the expense report, the purpose of the strip club outing, quote, player engagement event to support and grow our union.
How is that growing the union? I mean, that's a bad look.
Like, what? Like, growing the union? I mean, if you want to talk about having a good time and growing the union, I guess, but that's the reason you wrote on the expense report?
I think the only thing that's that would be growing from that is the NFLP representative's ego after doing that.
I was going to make a joke, but I'm going to be nice here. The NFLPA Summit is an annual event to foster leadership among players and young union employees. One of the employees who accompanied Howell submitted expense reports for this outing. Howell instructed the employee to file the expense reports. So now he's forcing other people to file his expense reports. You can't make this up. I don't know what to say. The employee noted on a March 23rd expense report, $736 equals, this was the final amount I was charged to close the tab for both secluded sections for our player members. This included food, alcoholic drinks, fees, taxes, and gratuity. No players' names are listed on the receipts of the reports. Gee, I wonder why the names were not listed.
Because it was just the Player Association representatives. I don't think there was no players involved in this.
But it says documents show 4 cash withdrawals were flagged with alerts, apparently referring to potential reimbursement violations. I mean, holy crap. Like, are you looking for fraud? Like, in all this is screaming fraud all over it, isn't it?
For some guys who are representing the NFL, they're really seems like they're pretty incompetent and not even smart with trying to, get away with these things.
I don't know really what to say here, but it kind of scares me that if these are the people running our NFLPA, like to represent the players, what the heck is like? Should we be concerned?
Oh, 100%. I mean, any player in the league should be very alarmed at this.
It also says Howell was elected union president in 2024 and was paid $3.6 million last year. He has lived in Miami since 2019. Records show he paid $6.8 million in September 2019 for a 3-bedroom condominium. I can't even say the word. Condominium. There we go. In the Porsche Design Tower in Sunny Isles Beach. So where is all this money coming from?
It's probably coming from the money that they had available to them among the union.
Like, this just screams fraud to me. Like, just left and right. Like, I smell jail time for
there has to be repercussions from this.
Like, if there's no jail time for fraud in this whatsoever, then this is the typical NFL, just sweeping things under the rug and say, oh, I see that dust bunny. Let me sweep it under the rug so no one finds it. And then eventually, like 10 years from now, when they go to dig this out, they say, oh my God, the NFLPA was investigated for strip clubs. Yeah, well, you didn't do anything about it 10 years later, so we can't do anything. So, I don't know. This is a bad situation. So he's out. They're looking for an interim NFLPA union president, whoever that's going to be. But I don't really know how to handle this. But part 2 of this is that NFLPA Chief Officer JC Tretter, who has been the chief officer for a long time, right?
Yeah, I know he was a former player for the Browns. He was an offensive lineman, but yeah, I think since his retirement, he's been in here for quite some time. And yeah, he resigns as well. And it just goes to show you, when you have allegations like this, you need a complete overhaul from all these representatives involved. And I know for him, it just got too much. I mean, it's not like he probably did anything wrong, but like he said, everybody in the Players Association is getting attacked, and he's basically a bullet board material, and it's just him and his family just can't take probably the negative publicity coming from this. So I understand it. I mean, anybody who's probably associated with this is probably going to want to resign. If not, they're all probably going to get let go anyways, because this can't be happening anymore.
I'll just finish. Well, first of all, I don't blame JC Tretter for walking away. I think he just said, I got to get away from this because I can't win. If I stay here any longer, then I'm going to get blamed for something I didn't even get involved in whatsoever, because everyone at the top is going to get criticized for everything that's going on. The last thing I'll say about this whole thing. So Lloyd Howell Jr.'s prior employer, Booz Allen, which I don't even know what that is, but it says his prior employer, Booz Allen, questioned him about strip club visits on company time. So he's done this before.
So my question is, it's like, why was he even in this position at this point anyways? I mean, I don't know how the NFL or the players even thought he'd be a good, representative for them.
And they even say that. So in 2015, Howell and a senior vice president visited a Manhattan, New York strip club where they racked up thousands of dollars for the night's entertainment. A former Booz Allen executive told ESPN. Afterward, Howell's colleagues sought reimbursement on an expense report, which was referred to the firm's compliance lawyers. The colleague was fired. Howell was reprimanded, the executive said. At the time, Howell was a defendant. Oh, God. Okay, I didn't even realize this. Okay, we got to pull back for a second. So, at the time, Howell was a defendant in a sexual discrimination and retaliation lawsuit filed by a partner of the company. I feel like I'm opening more doors, and it gets worse every time I open the door.
There's no way the NFL didn't do their due diligence and the players didn't do due diligence. How would they not have known this prior? It doesn't make any sense. Why was this guy ever put in this position to have the players' best interest and to lead them? It really doesn't make no sense.
It says Booz Allen settled for an undisclosed sum. The case that had alleged Howell and the company denied female employees leadership roles and excluded them from certain career opportunities provided to men. Okay, this is getting worse. The more I read of this is getting worse.
So he's just a really shit of a human being, to be honest with you. Sounds like he's sexist. He takes money for his own personal gain. I mean, this is just getting worse and worse.
It says another former Booz Allen executive told ESPN that the company was concerned about disciplining Howell while the lawsuit was active. A year later, Booz Allen promoted Howell to be its CFO, Chief Financial Officer. Wait a minute, this doesn't make sense. So he was in charge of the finances.
For a guy that has a history of not being able to manage the money and use it for other things that aren't supposed to be used for, I mean, maybe I'm saying he's incompetent, but maybe whoever decided to hire him might be more incompetent.
But I don't understand. So he has lawsuits pending. He doesn't know how to handle finances. He goes to strip clubs on company time, and they made him the CFO. Like, I don't know what to say. I'm so lost by this. Like,
well, the owner's got to be liking this, because when they're doing negotiations, I mean, these are the people that have to negotiate on their behalf. So, I mean, the more incompetent they are, the more smarter and the more advantage the NFL owners can take advantage of the players.
I mean, his statement, in his resignation statement, Howell said, quote, "It's clear that my leadership has become a distraction to the important work that the NFLPA advances every day. For this reason, I have informed the NFLPA Executive Committee that I'm stepping down as Executive Director of the NFLPA and Chairman of the Board of NFL Players effective immediately. I hope this will allow the NFLPA to maintain its focus on player members ahead of the upcoming season." You yo-yo, you caused these issues. So now he's saying, sorry, I don't want to get in the way of the important work of the NFLPA. It's your fault.
There's only one person you could point the finger at, and that's him.
This just sounds like a disaster, and this goes back to conversations we've had since you've joined the network here where we talk NFL stuff. The NFL hides everything. They hide everything until someone goes and investigates it enough, and they find the info that was under the rug the whole time.
Well, Nick, our favorite guy that we like to listen to, Colin Cowherd, he always has a saying, things only get out when they want him to get out. Stories like this only come out when people want him to get out because, I mean, if they don't want these stories getting out, they have enough power to prevent it. And obviously the NFL teams and owners didn't want it to come out until now.
That's a good point. You're right. That's a very accurate statement in that regard. But I don't know. I don't know what to say about this story anymore. But good job, NFLPA. I mean, like, you know how to make headlines even when you weren't trying to make headlines. And it's not even the NFL season yet. Like, the NFL is great at making headlines. We say this, it used to be like the NFL cared for what? Like a third or a little more than a third of the year. The NFL figured out now how to do it all year round. And it's not even about football. Bravo, NFLPA. You figured it out. All right. Let's move on to something a little more positive, maybe. Philip Rivers announces he is retiring as a Charger. Not surprised. That's where most of his career... Well, actually, that's where his whole career was played. He was just a Charger, right?
I think he may have finished with the Colts with Frank Wright as the head coach.
Oh, yeah. That's right. I forgot that he left. But we know him as a Charger. That's his career. He broke a ton of records with the Chargers. He's going to be a Hall of Famer. Let's just call it plain and simple as it is.
Yeah, he's his numbers and his regular season accomplishments are way too good for him not to be a Hall of Famer. He's multiple-time Pro Bowler. He's like top 10 in every single statistical category, and he really didn't have the best organization to really put the players around them or the team around them to win. I know they had great players like the Damian Tomlinson, Antonio Gates, but they were a team that, are a franchise that has always been incompetent. And they're a team, I mean, even look at back in the 70s or 80s when they had Dan Fouts. They were a team that always won a lot of games, but always came up short in the playoffs. And he's kind of basically a lot similar to Dan Fouts. I mean, their careers pretty much parallel each other. So Dan Fouts is in the Hall of Fame. There's no reason why Philip Rivers should be in the Hall of Fame. And Philip Rivers just unfortunately also had to play in the same era as a Peyton Manning and as a Tom Brady in the AFC. So getting past those two guys were, almost impossible. So he's a guy who was a part of that great 2004 draft class with him, Eli Manning, and Ben Roethlisberger. Probably one of the greatest quarterback classes we've ever seen. And honestly, he's the one guy who didn't get a Super Bowl, but he still should be in the Hall of Fame. Yeah, he's no Brady. Yeah, he's no Peyton Manning, but he's definitely right around a top 25, top 30 quarterback of all time. And if you're one of those guys, you should be in the Hall of Fame. Probably not first ballot. Eli Manning didn't get selected first ballot, but I think maybe a fifth or sixth year being into it, I think we'll see him in the Hall of Fame someday.
I mean, what scares me is Eli has the Super Bowl titles. And he didn't get in as a first ballot. So how can Philip Rivers get in as a first ballot? There's no way. Eli would have to get in before him, at least in my book of logic, winning Super Bowl rings.
100% agree.
So, I don't know. I mean, like you said, he had bad luck playing in the wrong era, I feel like, because when you have a Tom Brady and a Peyton Manning, I mean, Peyton Manning didn't even have a full 100% successful career. Even though, what did he win? 2? I think he won 2 rings. One with the Colts, one with the Broncos. And to be honest, he really didn't do anything in the Broncos game. Like, he had the neck injury basically that whole game. The team had to put him on his back basically to carry him to that title.
That's why Von Miller was the Super Bowl MVP of that one. But one thing I'll say about Philip Rivers, he was really tough. He was a guy that took no crap from nobody. Whenever you hit him hard, he was a guy, saying crap right back to defenders. He was a real good, shit talker to these guys, and you had to respect him for it. So, he was a good teammate. He's obviously also a really good father. His son is a quarterback, who's actually one of the top-ranked high school quarterbacks coming up. So, he's a great guy, great human being. Unfortunately, he didn't have the team success that he probably would have liked, but in my book, he should be a Hall of Famer someday. Obviously, you got to wait 5 years after retirement, but I think maybe after about 5 or 6 tries. I think he'll get in someday because, like I said, I think there's some quarterbacks in the Hall of Fame that you could make an argument that he's just as good, if not better. Maybe like a Warren Moon or Dan Fouts. Philip Rivers is pretty much right as good as those guys were.
So I looked up his stats: 63,440 passing yards, which unbelievable. That's probably in the top 10, probably, right? 421 passing touchdowns, completion percentage of 65%. That's a pretty good career, I would say, to be as consistent as that. Now, he did have his injury moments, and I think that's part of the reason why he didn't finish his career with the Chargers, because the Chargers didn't want to take a risk anymore on all his injuries going on. So that's why he didn't finish his career there. But he was definitely Mr. Consistency when it came to putting up yards and TDs every year. Was he a little interception prone? Yes. Because he was really a deep ball thrower, right? That was really his game.
He was kind of like a gunslinger the way he played.
Because you really don't see the gunslinger mentality as much anymore in today's game. Now, he kind of reminded me of Eli. He couldn't move his feet. Like, that was a problem that Phillip Rivers had. So his game was either flipping it to the running back or throwing it deep down the field for 40, 50 yards. Now, you have guys that can run out of the pocket as their first instance. It's a totally different game than when Phillip Rivers played. But totally deserves to win. Also, 8 Pro Bowl selections, and he was a comeback player of the year. I forgot about that, too. But great career. He will be in the Hall of Fame someday. Like, I agree with you. It won't be first, second, or third. It'll probably be in the 4th or 5th time. And I think he deserves it. And I think he's a high school coach, too, right? If I'm not mistaken.
I think he's the one that actually is coaching his son. So he said that before that he wanted to get into coaching and coaching high school football. And he's got the perfect mentality to be a high school football coach. He's
one of the very few that understands, hey, I was a former player. I got to keep growing this game to where it could grow and thrive. Most former players want nothing to do with helping the youth really play. That's just, they don't want to. They went through their time. They made their money. Phillip Rivers is totally different. Now, he's more of a father figure. He's got 10 kids. So it's a totally different scenario. But I think he will be in the Hall of Fame someday. Empty the Bench is presented by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite viewers up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience, from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with the commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best enjoyed together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. And now back to the show. Now, I think this is the main topic of the show. WNBA All-Star Weekend. I don't know how much or if any clips or if you saw anything from WNBA All-Star Weekend, but the game was a dud, number one. The skills competition was okay. 3-point contest was pretty good. Sabrina Nescu won the 3-point contest. There was some other issues that went down. The title sponsor of the WNBA All-Star Weekend, Aflac, was paying 20 times more than the WNBA was paying the winners of all the contests. So there's already issues there. The CBA is up for between the WNBA and the league, so they're in intense negotiations. The WNBA players are not happy right now. The offers have not come close to anything respectable. And what ended up happening before the All-Star game is they all came out wearing black shirts that said, "Pay us what you owe us," on the shirts. Now, there's two perspectives to really look at this. If both sides were negotiating in good faith, you wouldn't do anything like this publicly because you don't want to embarrass the other side, or vice versa. But in this regard, the WNBA itself, the league, the owners, are not negotiating in good faith currently. I looked this up the other day. So in the NBA, the players make close to 50% of the revenue share. It's a 50-50 between the owners and the league. You want to take a wild guess what percentage the WNBA players make in revenue share?
Isn't it around 6 to 10%?
Yeah, 9.3%, which is outrageous. Outrageous, considering the $2.2 billion TV deal, which they got a little bit of help from the NBA, but still, the WNBA product is starting to pick itself up and grow. You're getting more names. The Caitlin Clarks of the world, Angel Reese, even though I can't stand her whatsoever. She blocked this show, by the way, on social media because she apparently didn't like what I had to say about her on the show about the Me-Bound stuff. But there's more names. It's a much more popular product than it was 5 to 7 years ago. When, if you like on SportsCenter, if they showed a highlight, it was kind of just like the laughable WNBA highlight many years ago on SportsCenter. Now it's part of SportsCenter highlights. It's part of social media. It's on ESPN. It's on ABC. It's on Amazon Prime in the new deal. So what do you make of this shirt demonstration first, before anything?
Well, it's like what you alluded to. If it just goes to show you how bad the negotiations have gotten for these women. And I think that this is twofold. I think there's one argument for the women and one argument against the women. First, I'll say the one that's against them is that obviously right now the WNBA hasn't been profitable. They've been losing money. The NBA has been doing the best they can to try to save the league and preserve the league. But now we see all these new players like Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, Sophie Cunningham, Cameron Brink, and Caitlin Clark, the main one, who has really, upped the ante and made this league a lot more watchable and a lot more profitable. Before, 10, 15 years ago, there may be one player that people can name off the top of their heads. Now you can name 5 or 6 players off the top of your head, and that's just for casuals. The people who actually follow the sport actually know a lot more players. So now they're trying to expand the league as well. So, yeah, the league is not profitable, but I think it's getting to that point. And I think a lot of the reason why it's not profitable is because the WNBA representatives, they're not marketing the league the right way. They're not doing things that are in the best interest of these players. And then like what you said, even if the league is not profitable or trying to work its way up, the percentage that they're getting is not nearly enough. They should be at least getting 40 to 50%. We see other leagues, I think the NFL, they get just under 50%. It's like around 48, 49%. So most leagues, they try to get close to a 50-50 split where the WNBA is not a 50-50 split. It's not even a 75-25. They're getting a majority of the revenue. So I do think that obviously the league needs to be more profitable so that they can get more money, but they have to get more than 9%. That's definitely something when I read that, I was completely in shock. I thought that they were already getting 40%. So when I read that, I'm like, you know what? These women are right. Yeah, people always make the argument of being not profitable, but 9% is a complete slap to the face to these women that obviously deserve much better and much more.
I mean, I'll give you a few points here. Caitlin Clark, who is the top player in the WNBA after playing in Iowa, having an incredible career in Iowa, broke the 3-point record, broke the points record, comes into the league. She's making $78,000. She is the biggest name in the sport.
I got people at my job making more than that. That's astounding. She's more famous than 99% of the population. So it makes no sense. She's in commercials. She's doing all this other stuff. So I don't understand how she's making that little amount of money.
Now, there are people in the WNBA that make $100,000, $200,000, but for a first-round pick to make $78,000 and to be as valued as the WNBA claims, something is messed up in coming out of the draft. When you look at the NBA draft, they have numbers, they have contracts right at the top. The number one, Cooper Flagg, what was his deal when he came out? Did he sign a deal yet or no?
Yeah, I think it was wasn't it something close to like a 4-year, $60 million contract?
I'm looking that up currently because I want to make sure I get this accurate. Okay. So his contract, this is stunning, and I didn't realize this, but his contract is worth $62.7 million.
That's probably more than if you took all the WNBA players and added their salaries together.
Maybe even double. Almost, or more. So it says the contract is $62.7 million with $28.3 million guaranteed in the first 2 years. Think about that. Caitlin Clark is going to make $330,000 in her first 4 years in the WNBA.
Now it's tough to compare, though, with the NBA players and the WNBA players because the NBA is so much more profitable.
Yes.
So that's a tough comparison. Obviously, there's some people out there that say, oh, we should be making NBA money. No, you can't make NBA money because at that point, your league has to be much more profitable. But they damn sure should be getting more than 9% of the revenue.
But another thing I want to point out, too, and some people are not understanding the difference between revenue and profit. There's a big difference there. Revenue is how much the league brings in, which is a lot. The WNBA still brings in a lot of revenue. Profit is the amount that's left over after all the business and expenses and stuff are paid. So people are confusing the profit with the revenue source that comes in. They're making a lot of revenue. Let's not get our what's in a bunch, because the NBA, the WNBA, you could, any business, CVS, Target, whatever, they all fudge their numbers, their revenue numbers, to make it look better or worse because of tax purposes and all this stuff to get around it. So let's not go around and say that, oh, well, the revenue is the same as profit. It's not. Profit is what's left over at the end. Revenue is just what they make from all the advertisement, all the sponsors, all the merchandise sales, all the food and drink, the ticket passes, all that stuff. So we got to be careful when we compare revenue to profit. What was the other point I was going to make? I get why they did it. I understand the shirt. The 9%, the 9.3% to be exact, is outrageous in such a massive way. And people say, oh, well, the WNBA's operating at a $50 million loss. First of all, there's no proof of that. So everyone who keeps saying that, there is no proof until that comes out publicly. And you're never going to see that publicly because all leagues are considered private entities. So you're never going to see that come out unless, as you said before, in the Colin Cowherd world, unless it's made apparent that no one's going to know the operating losses or the expenses of the league. You're just not going to know it. The only time you're going to know it is like the NBA tells you or the NFL tells you, look at our bottom line. We keep making more money. That's the only way you're going to know. But did I like the shirts? No, I did not like the shirts. I think it's never a good thing when you have to demonstrate on one of the biggest stages, which, by the way, the WNBA All-Star Game was on ABC. It's in more households, more TVs were seeing this, more digital was seeing this.
And just to show you that this is more of a WNBA problem than it is the players' problem, if Caitlin Clark, Paige Beckers, and Angel Reese decided, hey, we're going to leave this league, start our own league, and do our own rights and do our own media stuff, they would make more money than probably what the WNBA is making right now because they're not marketing the proper way.
Well, so they do have a competitive league called Unrivaled, which is on the side, which is actually run by Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier, who are two of the biggest. And I'm going to bring up another issue here with those two because they co-run the league. They have ownership in the league with a bunch of other WNBA players. But Breanna Stewart and Nafisa Collier are VPs of the WNBPA. I talked about this with Callan on Press Row. There's a massive conflict of interest here because what happens if the WNBA goes into a lockout, which is where it looks like it's heading currently? There's probably not going to be a WNBA season next year.
Then what will probably happen is the players will probably go and play it on Unrivaled so they can make money.
Ding, ding. Yes, that's exactly right. So I see a conflict of interest going on here where you have two owners who co-run Unrivaled are VPs of the WNBPA. This can't happen. How can this be allowed?
Yeah, it don't make sense. I mean, that would be like if Josh Allen and Joe Burrow in the NFL decided to start their own NFL league at the same time on the side.
That would be like if, I'm trying to think of the other leagues, like if Joe Burrow and Josh Allen went to go be on the ownership of the XFL and managed to stay in the NFL at the same time. You know what the NFL would say to that?
Hell no.
Bye.
They were even giving Tom Brady an issue just for being a part owner in the Raiders because he was an analyst. That was just an analyst, not even a guy who's currently playing anymore.
That's why I'm saying this is a problem. And Nafisa Collier keeps coming out and saying, that's not a conflict of interest. Like, yes, it is. You can't be an owner in something else and be a VP on a player's board for something else. It doesn't work because you're not going to make sound decisions for both sides. You're just not.
Well, it's ironic that the league is called unrivaled because it's definitely going to rival the WNBA.
That's a good point. That's the best point I've heard so far. That the irony of the name. Now, the one last thing I'll say about this too, unrivaled salaries. I think Paige Beckers, who's the young up and coming star right now for the Dallas Wings, just came out of UConn. They won everything under Gino. I mean, they won everything under the sun. Now she's with the Dallas Wings, number 1 overall pick. They're the struggling team right now, but she's a big name. She signed a deal for, I think, $350,000 over 3 years. She's getting that over 4 years with the WNBA. 1 less year, same amount of money. The WNBA has a lot of issues when it comes to marketing their players, giving them what they are rightly valued to be. Kathy Engelbert is a terrible commissioner because she came out and said, "Oh, we don't see Unrivaled as a competitive league." What?
That doesn't make no sense. I mean, that should be their biggest fear is this league because, I mean, these girls, I mean, if you see like in a couple of years when Juju Watkins decides to come in, she's going to be up there with Caitlin Clark. If she does fully recover, she's going to be up there in terms of popularity and skill level with the Caitlin Clark. I mean, and if you look at her, if she can get much more money from Unrivaled, then why even go to the WNBA to begin with?
There was another story out there also. So Unrivaled made NIL deals with 14 current women's college basketball stars. And I'm talking about like the biggest of the biggest, including Juju Watkins, who they made a deal with. You know what that's setting that up for, right? Think about that. What are those NIL deals setting those players up for?
Well, they're setting it up for them to obviously want to choose to play for them a lot more than the WNBA. And then this goes to when they have the negotiations. I mean, they're going to be able to use this against the association or against the owners of the WNBA and be like, hey, we can make so much money over here. If you want us to play here, you're going to have to match that or make it more.
I mean, I'm just looking at some of the names. So Juju Watkins, what you said, she's probably the next big star out of USC who's going to be in the WNBA. If it wasn't for her injury, she might have been in the WNBA already.
Well, I know they got that rule where they make the women's college basketball players, I think, either play 4 years or you got to stay until you're 21 years old. So I think she wouldn't have been eligible for another year for that WNBA draft. So
I guess the injury didn't hurt her as much as I thought it was going to. But still, she lost time playing on the court. But like Azzi Fudd, who was at the WNBA All-Star Weekend, Olivia Miles, I think she was Notre Dame and transferred. Flau'jae Johnson, I think, is LSU. She was at the WNBA All-Star Weekend. They're all seeing this demonstration going down. What do you think is going through their heads when they're seeing what the WNBA players are fighting up against?
Yeah, they're going to be pushed away and not really wanted. I mean, if I was a lady, why would I go to the WNBA and make less money when I can make more money somewhere else? It's common sense.
It's tough. The WNBA has an uphill battle to climb, but if Unrivaled is going to keep going at this rate, where they're going to keep adding and paying more, and they're even giving some of the players who enter the league ownership percentage in Unrivaled. I mean, how do you beat that? I mean,
well, let me ask you this, Nick. You think there's a possibility in 5 to 10 years or maybe sooner where the WNBA collapses and it gets replaced by a league like Unrivaled?
Oh, that's not even a question. I'm willing to say in the next 5 to 10 years that Unrivaled, because they have the better business plan, better business model, currently paying the players what they deserve. And let me be clear about one thing also. Just because you can pay more doesn't necessarily mean you're better. That just means you're willing to put more value on something that somebody else may not. But at the same time, if they're able to pay more, it's because they're doing the business model correctly to afford what players should be making at their proper value. So, because Kathy Engelbert came out and said, well, they're paying more, blah, blah. Yeah, dummy. Of course they're paying more because they can afford and they're going to give the players what they want. Breanna Stewart, top player. Nafisa Collier, top player. Paige Beckers, top player. All getting paid more money over at Unrivaled than they are in the WNBA. They tried to get Caitlin Clark. they just couldn't close the deal because of the money. But I think eventually Caitlin Clark is going to play an Unrivaled. And as soon as that happens, there's going to be massive wars going back and forth. I mean, if I remember correctly, didn't Big Three try to close a deal with Caitlin Clark?
Yeah, they did.
They offered her like $5 million or something, and she turned it down because she had respect for the WNBA. Think about that statement.
Well, that respect is going to start going out the window. And I mean, you made a good point, Nick. I mean, just if they're paying more money doesn't mean that they're going to be a better league. I mean, we've seen other, if you look at the fighting world, how many fighting promotions pay these fighters much more money to get them away from the UFC. But at the end of the day, they make more money, but nobody's watching these other leagues, so they're not making as many endorsement deals. And at the end of the day, they're coming at a loss. It seems like Unrivaled is doing everything right to not only where they're going to be able to pay these women more money, they're going to be able to market them to where they can get endorsements. They can get the same, if not more, eyeballs on them. So it's a no-brainer because they beat the WNBA in every category.
I mean, I guess the one example I can make from that UFC fight world, I was talking to Zan about this a week ago. The Mayweather-McGregor fight, the combo fight, the amount of money that was involved, and people said, oh, well, they offered more money because they had money. No, it's because Floyd's promotion is sometimes more valuable than what the UFC was putting out with money. I mean, I was reading the numbers, the crazy numbers that were put out for that. So, like, Floyd made like 130 just off purse, and Conor made 80, and then total between pay-per-views, Floyd made 275 and Conor made 130. You think they were ever going to pull those numbers just as a UFC bout? No way.
It was the combination of the two. It was your biggest star in MMA with the biggest star in boxing collabing, and everybody wanted to see, like, hey, how is this fight going to go? And it was the curiosity of it. And like you said, it took both promotions coming together to make something like that happen.
Because you know what the UFC would have said about that type of money? They would have balked and ran away if this was done by themselves. Now, you're a much bigger UFC fan than me, but I just know from a business perspective, the UFC would have said, F you, we're not giving you that money. The Floyd promotions, the Mayweather promotions had to get involved, or else there was going to be no money like that whatsoever. Okay, we can talk about this till we're blue in the face, but we have a few more topics we got to get into. Let's stay in basketball. Let's go to the NBA. Chris Paul and Bradley Beal signed with the Clippers. I want to attack these very differently because they were done very differently. Bradley Beal was a huge headache in Phoenix, would not get off his no-trade clause, became the headache of the NBA. Now, I don't know if it's 100% his fault by any means, but I think he got hurt at one point with the Suns also, and he just became a huge head case after the injury, and he wouldn't let the team move him.
Yeah,
right?
He was playing hardball with the team and pretty much put the Suns at a no answer for this. Like the Suns were basically stuck and basically held hostage because of what Bradley Beal was doing, and this is why they had to force the Kevin Durant deal, because they had to get something in value because they know this team wasn't going anywhere. I mean, this was a team that couldn't even make the damn play-in tournament. I know the West is strong. Making the play-in tournament in the West is obviously 10 times more difficult than the East. But still, at the end of the day, when you're paying this amount of money to the 3 stars and you can't even make the play-in tournament, something's got to change. And it kind of works out for Suns. They were able to save some money. Bradley Beal was able to leave, and I'm glad the Suns now are finally able to turn a leaf, build around Devin Booker. And honestly, I like the Clippers. I mean, Bradley Beal doesn't have to be the star. He probably could come off the bench with them or be like their 5th or 6th option. So it just makes the Clippers a much deeper team who's trying to compete now and allows the Suns to kind of rebuild around Devin Booker.
Now, let's be very clear about one thing. He's walking away with $97 million not to play for the Suns anymore. Okay? He was a headache. I mean, if the Suns really wanted to fight that deal, they could have just said, you know what? Screw you. We're not trading you. We're sitting you out until you play. They could have done that. But at the same time, they were just going to lose more and more and more value if they just kept sitting him out and refusing to do anything. So, and this is the problem with today's NBA, where if a player doesn't like where they are, they're literally going to make a stink until they get to whatever team they want to play on. And I can't stand it. It's awful. Like, there's not enough rules in place in the NBA where they say, oh, well, you signed a deal. You signed up to be here. After 1 year, some of these guys get pissed off after signing a 4 or 5 year deal, and they put the team in a financially tough situation when they say, oh, I don't want to be here anymore. There needs to be something put in place.
I think this is what scares the NFL, because the NFL players want to have the same luxuries that the NBA players have with, no trade clauses and full guarantee contracts. And this is why the NFL pushes back against it, because they don't want to become like the NBA. They don't want teams to become stuck with bad contracts and bad players, unless you're the Cleveland Browns with Deshaun Watson. But besides that, the NFL doesn't want it. The NFL teams want teams to be able to rebuild and get better. And that's why the NFL, you see so much parity. You can see a team like the Commanders go from one of the worst teams in the league to all the way to the Final Four teams. The NBA, you really don't see that too much, because when you have a bad contract, you're stuck with it. I mean, look at a couple of years ago when the Lakers were kind of stuck with the Russell Westbrook contract, and their team kind of sucked until they were able to get out of it. So this is just a trend that, unfortunately is going to continue. And what, also hurts the NBA is there's only 15 guys on the roster. You only got 5 starters, and a great player can make so much difference. And that's why we see that. Our players have so much power in the NBA, more so than all these other sports, because, a quarterback can have power, but at the end of the day, you got 53 guys on the roster. So there's a lot of guys that you got to factor in, and there's a lot of guys that have to play well for you to win. In the NBA, 3 or 4 guys can make a difference if you win a championship or not. So that's why they hold the power over these organizations.
It's such a crazy thought with the amount of power. Like, you see this in baseball a little bit because they're fully guaranteed contracts, excuse me, where they basically demand to be traded because they know they're going to get their money regardless if they sit out on their own validity. Now, there is rules. Like, you can't just randomly sit out for no reason. Eventually, you're going to get docked, and you're going to lose money in your deal. This is what we see in the NFL, that they have the fines set up for guys who don't show up. Now, the difference in the NFL is like Trey Hendrickson right now with the Bengals. He's not going to get fined because he doesn't have a contract currently. It's not like he's sitting out and demanding a extension or demanding more money. He's literally a free agent until they figure out what's going on. And I saw a post of him the other day. Like he left and went to Florida, for crying out loud. Like, he's not even in the vicinity anymore. In this scenario, Bradley Beal was under a large contract with the Suns. And like I said, the Suns could have said, screw you, sit out then if you don't want to play. And then we'll just take you to arbitration and make them fine you for the money. So, I don't know. I mean, do I really trust that Bradley Beal is ever going to be the same player he was like in Washington? No, I don't think he's ever going to be the same player. Is he a very good player? Absolutely. But without a doubt, he is a really good player.
Well, let's be honest. Do the Clippers need Bradley Beal to be a prime Bradley Beal? They really don't. I mean, I know they got a lot of older players. They're an older roster, but if these guys can stay healthy, they have a tremendous rotation. They got Chris Paul, who this would be his last season in the NBA. You got him and Bradley Beal. You got Kawhi Leonard. When he's healthy, he's a top 10 player in the world. James Harden is still an all-star level player. You got Zubac as your center. This is a team that's got a lot of options and a really deep roster. The only thing that scares me is all these guys are old. So you can't demand many minutes, but because they're deep, they're probably going to just have these guys rotate and try to keep them fresh for the playoffs.
I mean, they brought Brook Lopez in as a backup, also, who I happen to like. He's been really good in the prime stage of his career now that he's a more long-range shooter for a big man. But when I look at, now that you brought up Chris Paul, I think this was more of just a hometown return. I think just to finish his career. I don't think he chose the Clippers because he thought they were going to win. There were plenty of teams that were massive playoff teams, I think, that were offering him deals. But I think he made his home in LA. That's where he wanted to be. It's a 1 year, $3.6 million plus, fully guaranteed. What is this, like his 22nd or 23rd season or something? Like,
I think this is his 21st season, so it's a really good spot for him. I know the Clippers did lose Norman Powell. They're a really good guard / forward who's going to the Miami Heat.
In the trade.
Bradley Beal scoring probably helps replace that. But this is a team that I definitely could see maybe going to a second round of the playoffs. And if everything goes right and all these players are healthy and we get to see a prime healthy Kawhi Leonard, I mean, maybe this is a team that we see against OKC in the Western Conference Finals.
If is the word I would use as the primary.
There's a lot of ifs in that scenario, though.
Yeah. Kawhi Leonard, who doesn't even really play back-to-backs really anymore. James Harden, this is going to sound ridiculous what I'm about to say, but James Harden has been the most consistent player on that team. That's not a statement that I thought would come out of my mouth at all.
He's been the most punctual player, the one that they can depend on to be there every given night, who's going to be healthy. And like you said, that's not something we'd ever thought we'd say before.
Right. I mean, Paul George is gone and proved to be a good move because now he had to get surgery again. I mean, I think Paul George was actually ruining that franchise, the Clippers, for a while, just because his ego got in the way, everything he was doing off the court, the podcast P nonsense. But are the Clippers a better team than they were last year? Yes, I think they're a better team than they are last year. Will they perform better is a different scenario and a different question. I like Zubac too, by the way.
And now having Brook Lopez as a backup to Zubac, that's a great scenario because now they don't have to run Zubac into the ground and worry about him getting hurt. It's nice to have multiple big men so you can throw multiple 7-footers out there for defense.
I think the Lakers screwed up really bad there. They could have had Brook Lopez. That would have been a great fit for the Lakers. And
well, hey, they got DeAndre Ayton for pennies on the dollar because he was already making money from the Portland buyout. So maybe because it was a cheaper option for a team that's already paying Luka and LeBron a lot of money.
But I feel like Lopez at least is consistent, and you know what you're going to get from him. He's going to play good defense. He can shoot from wide range. DeAndre Ayton's not shooting from wide range. I'll tell you that right now. He's
also a little older, though. I mean, do you think that you could depend on a Brook Lopez to be your only center? I mean, because the Lakers don't have probably depth at center, Ayton's going to have to play a lot of minutes. I wonder if Brook Lopez could be a guy that can come in and play all those minutes every given night and make it to a full season.
No, that's a good point, and I agree with you. I mean, giving up Dorian Finney-Smith was a whole nother issue for them also, which, by the way, I really liked until they traded him away for the Nets. But I don't know. Like, these are good moves, but you're aging your roster day by day. Like, they must have
like a senior citizen home out there.
Yeah, I mean, they got to. You would think that they probably are the highest average age in the league, right? Probably.
Oh, they got to be. And I know Colin Cowherd has said for a while, when you look at the NBA is becoming so fast and so athletic. It's becoming a young man's game. The teams that are winning and going far in the playoffs have these young superstars that can withstand these minutes and withstand going through 48 minutes playing at this type of speed and pace. You know, the NBA has so much higher pace now that it's harder for these older guys to compete. And that's why you see teams like the Timberwolves with Anthony Edwards and teams like OKC with all these young stars going deeper in the playoffs than teams like the Lakers who are much older.
The Clippers will get run off the court by OKC if they play in the playoffs. I'll give you another team, too, which hasn't been great as of the last couple of years, but has championship pedigree. Watch out for the Spurs, the way they're being built. The Spurs would take a bite out of the Clippers speed-wise. Just
Same with the Nuggets, too. The Nuggets got Jokic now surrounded with three-point shooters. I think the Cam Johnson trade helps them on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. I know you don't like the player that they got, but the Houston Rockets, man, outside of Kevin Durant, they're a really young athletic team with Sengun and Thompson. So that's a team you got to look for as well if Kevin Durant can keep his head on straight.
I love the Rockets, except for Kevin Durant, which I have a huge issue with. But I love the young roster of the Rockets. They have a little bit of experience. It's just going to take some time to really get up there and just play minutes. That's really the biggest thing for them. But the Clippers are they're in AARP already. They're not just getting there. They have their cards. They're already there. And that's going to be the biggest issue. Staying in the NBA, did anyone expect Damian Lillard to go back to the Trailblazers?
No, I didn't see it. I mean, I saw that there was rumors of maybe him going to the Boston Celtics for a cheap deal, but it makes sense, though. I mean, Dame Lillard's got to recover from his injury. He may not be the same player as he once was. I mean, he's probably coming to terms with the fact that he probably won't be able to get a championship. And there's no other city where he's more beloved in than the Portland Trailblazers. So when the Portland Trailblazers have all these young players, he could come in there and be that veteran. Obviously, they're not going to win anything, but I think Damian Lillard now could go down as one of these players to where maybe he didn't win a championship or play for a great franchise, but the franchise he did play for is he's going to be beloved, sort of like Allen Iverson is for the 76ers.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's a good point. I don't know if you had a chance to laugh at the contract, though, that Damian Lillard is going to be making between the Bucks and the Trailblazers. Now, keep in mind, he's missing all of next season. That's already been put out there. Excuse me. But he's going to make $70 million next year, not to play a game, a minute, a second on an NBA court. Okay? And
that's pretty wild.
It's wild. Can you imagine if someone turned to either of us and said, hey, I'll give you $70 million. You just have to sit at home all year and do nothing. Sign me up. Sign me up, please. I mean, is it a good story? Yeah, it's a good story. But he's not going to win anything there.
But you know what, though? He can even help this team next year on the sidelines by trying to give these guys good leadership and, some critiques or some, words of advice off the court while they are playing.
Yeah, I mean, he could be there as veteran experience. And by the way, he won't have to pay for a meal ever again being back in Portland, ever. Because he still holds, I think, most of the records. Even after he left and went other places, he's probably gonna go down close to probably the greatest player to ever play for the Portland Trailblazers. I mean, I know if you're going by peak, Bill Walton did deliver them a championship, but if you're going by longevity, I mean, Damian Lillard's probably gonna go down as a better player than like a Clyde Drexler or all the other guys that they've had. I mean, he's been pretty consistent his whole career until getting the blood clot, then having the torn ACL, and he pretty much was a consistent minutes guy. He just had some bad luck over the past year. But I don't know. Is it a good story? Is it a happy story? Yeah, because he's back with his organization. But again, I think he's going to go down as one of the better players. He's going to go down as a Melo, if you get my reference, where basically, in case people don't get my reference, Carmelo Anthony was one of the greatest players in NBA history, just never won a title because his bad luck everywhere he was between Denver and the Knicks.
Like a Charles Barkley, who was a great player, MVP guy, but he couldn't get past Michael Jordan, but who could in the 90s?
That's a good point. But Damian Lillard will go to the Hall of Fame. Melo will go to the Hall of Fame. They're all great players. You're just never going to see NBA title next to their names. Quickly, see if we can get through two more stories here. Scottie Scheffler wins the Open Championship. This guy is on the way to completing the Grand Slam in golf this year.
Yeah, this guy is the best golfer in the world. It's not even close. Not saying he's as dominant as Tiger Woods was, but it's almost getting to that territory where almost every major championship, this guy's right in the thick of it and pretty much winning it over the last couple of years. And there's really not a golfer right now that's even close to him. And he's on a tremendous run, and this is great for, golf. I mean, I know golf has turned into a sport where there's not one guy winning all these majors. It's kind of, going back and forth because there's more great golfers now than there ever's been. The pool of professional golfers is much more stronger. I mean, the 50th best golfer now is 10 times better than what the 50th best golfer was 10, 20 years ago. But it just goes to show you how much more impressive this guy is. In probably the toughest era to win and dominate like this, he's doing it. So, I mean, I think it's great for golf because I think when you see a different guy win, each major, it's hard for the fans to stick because they kind of forget all these guys. When you got one guy who's constantly winning, I think that's a lot easier for casuals to get into it because they want to say, hey, I want to see what this guy Scheffler could do. He's winning all these majors. Can he win this one? So I think it's great for the viewership of golf.
I mean, I started to say this to you before we started. People are comparing this to Tiger. And I think it's a little early to compare it to Tiger. Tiger went on this incredible run. And I think Tiger was also like 4 or 5 years younger when he started that massive tear of winning like 15 or 16 majors. Scottie's really good. But like Tiger, Scottie had some of his off the course issues. Even though I don't think that was his fault 100%. to this day. I think you and I discussed that a while back, but he's going to be a phenomenal player. He'll be a Hall of Fame golfer one day. He's made a shitload of money now. I mean, I'm trying to look up like how much he's made for the season, but it's incredible like what this guy has accomplished. And
it's hard to compare anybody to Tiger. I mean, that's like comparing, a hockey player to Wayne Gretzky or a quarterback to Tom Brady. I mean, those guys are almost impossible to surpass. But I would definitely say he's probably past the Rory McIlroys or anybody else who's come in the generation since Tiger. I mean, he's definitely undoubtedly the best player in golf that we've seen since Tiger Woods' prime.
Okay, so he's made $19 million already, winning all these majors. Like, this guy can't have it any better right now. He's got a young kid. He's got a great family life. I mean, as long as he's healthy, I mean, and continues to win at this pace. I'm not willing to say that he's going to get to Tiger or he's going to get to Jack Nicklaus, but he could make a run at it.
And doing it in this era, even if he gets close, it might be more impressive because, Jack Nicklaus has the record, but the field of golfers that he was going up against, there was only 6 guys that were really just kind of winning every major. Now you got about 25 guys that in any given tournament can win it. So he's doing it in a much tougher era. So, 10 majors for Scottie Scheffler is more impressive than 15 to 20 from the guys in previous generations.
And you're also seeing younger guys come up faster to compete in the professional level. So we'll see what happens. All right, quickly, because I want to get to this. Jon Jones rejected by Dana White for what? I left out a word. White House card. Your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was actually really shocked because Dana White's a guy who's always, talking good about Jon Jones, about how he's the best this and best that. But, I mean, I think Dana White makes a good point, though. I mean, Jon Jones is the guy that you can't rely on. I mean, how many times have they thought, oh, he's going to be on this card, gets paused for steroids. Oh, we're going to put him on this card. He decides he wants to retire. I think with this White House card, I think Dana White wants to make sure nothing goes wrong with this card. I mean, he's putting his reputation on the line, being the first event that's going to be at the White House. Donald Trump's going to have a lot to say on this because if this card sucks, it's going to come back on Donald Trump as well. So Donald Trump's going to want the best card as well. And this guy is just too much independent to take that risk. I think maybe if they have Jon Jones and somebody else on it, kind of like 2 main events, a good co-main event, that may make a lot of sense. But Jon Jones is not reliable with the steroids, with the retirement, that Dana White can't take that risk. I mean, we've seen how much he wanted to make sure that the Sphere card worked last year. And he said he's going to make this card 10 times better than the Sphere card and UFC 300. So Dana White said this would be the best card in UFC history, and I don't think he would want a guy like Jon Jones, who has a reputation, to ruin it.
I mean, I'm reading some of the tweets. He's an interesting guy on Twitter. And so someone said to him, Dana said he can't trust you to headline anything. So Jon Jones responds, that's actually not what he said. He said he can't afford anything to go wrong, which is what you just said, which is understandable. It's hard to commit to any athletes literally still a year out. Let's not twist words. My entire career has been a main event. Okay. Can we slow the roll a little bit?
I mean, he's got a point, though. I mean, with all the off the octagon instances that Jon Jones has, his life is kind of the main event. He has lived a kind of a crazy lifestyle.
I mean, the only thing that stands out to me, and I remember it, is when the random PED test came to his house, or the person came to do the test, and he almost beat the crap out of the tester. Is that true? Am I remembering that right?
Yeah, I know. His story is much different, but yeah, I guess he got like real aggressive and wasn't really the nicest guy that there is. Like they always say, you got good guys in the NFC and the UFC trying to play a bad guy. Where I think Jon Jones is a bad guy who's trying to come off as a good guy, and he's really not.
So I'll finish on this statement because we got to finish the show up. But he came out and made a statement and said, I heard the comments made at the press conference. While I was a little disappointed, I'm still in the UFC's drug testing pool, staying sharp and continuing to train like a professional. I'll be ready for whatever comes next. In a recent interview, I shared that the opportunity to fight at the White House gave me something deeper to fight for, a why that goes beyond paychecks or belts. Fighting for my country gives me a greater purpose. The silver lining in all this is knowing the fans see my heart. They see I'm ready and willing to take on anyone to represent my country on a historic stage. For me, it's never been just about the opponent. I'm chasing legacy, sometimes timeless, something bigger than the moment. I don't know what to say. I think that's just him being diplomatic. Or no?
No, I agree. I mean, I guess something fighting at the White House is something he hasn't done. I mean, you're talking about a guy who's been in more title fights than anybody else. He's accomplished everything in the sport. This is going to be a one-off. There's never going to be another UFC event at the White House. So maybe this is something that he could add to the legacy to say, hey, I also main event the biggest card in UFC history. And I mean, it would be a great storyline. We're going to be celebrating 250 years of America's Declaration of Independence, where we got to be freed from Britain. Well, who right now is the UFC heavyweight champion? Tom Aspinall. He's a Brit. Who's Jon Jones, an American? That is the perfect storyline for this card, but I don't think Dana White wants to take that risk of Jon Jones messing it up.
I mean, he ran away from his last fight, for crying out loud. What? Now I understand why Dana doesn't want to put him on the card, because he had a chance to fight a huge card. They even put the money out for him, right? Weren't they going to pay him like 30+ million or something to fight the card?
He made out, Jon Jones made outrageous demands. Jon Jones gave him all those demands. Jon Jones said, yeah. They had basically everything but a formal agreement. And then late out of nowhere, Jon Jones says, yeah, I decided I don't have it in me anymore. I want to retire.
Okay, the last question, it's probably a crazy question, is do you think they will try this nonsense again with Conor and Chandler on that card?
I really think so. I mean, I think if you're going to make the biggest card ever, you're going to have someone that can sell pay-per-views. And honestly, Nick, I think this might come down to where I think in a perfect scenario, you get Aspinall versus Jon Jones as the main event title fight. You got to have a title fight as your main event on a card. And then you have Conor McGregor's return against Michael Chandler in the co-main event. And you're talking about two guys in McGregor and Jon Jones who absolutely love and have a great relationship with Donald Trump. I mean, Conor McGregor was on the bus with Logan Paul and others on the way to the inauguration of Donald Trump. So I think that would be the perfect scenario. So I like what you said. I could see McGregor and Chandler fighting. And McGregor posted a video where he looks like he's lost some weight and slimmed down. And it looks like he's trying to get in shape to make that 170-pound weight to fight Mike Chandler.
I mean, can you imagine the wild scenario if McGregor and Chandler finally fight? I mean, I understand like people want to see Jon Jones and that fight, but how long has it been since The Ultimate Fighter? 2 years since they were both supposed to fight?
Yeah, and McGregor hasn't fought since 2021. So if he fought this, you're looking at a 5-year hiatus between his fights.
And also, Chandler's been getting the crap beat out of him the last couple of fights. He lost to, what, Pimlet?
Yeah, now Pimlet's on an undefeated streak in the UFC, but yeah, I mean, Michael Chandler hasn't won a match in a long time.
I mean, I'll tell you right now, if that fight comes, I would watch that whole card. I might watch the whole card anyway, but I want to see Conor and Chandler fight. I think we got to see that payoff, I feel like, and that would be the perfect scenario. But that'll do it for this episode of Empty the Bench, episode 282. Make sure you follow us on social media for Empty the Bench at ETB Sports, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at ETB Sports. Follow the Empty the Bench podcast network at ETB Network, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. Follow our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. Help us by subscribing, by either hitting the button below if you're watching on video. If you're on the audio, go over to our YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button. We are less than 30 subscribers away from 1,000. Help us get to there on the journey. And also, we are presented by Playback. We're doing a lot of baseball. NBA will be back eventually. I heard hockey could be down the pike at some point. Not sure yet, but playback.tv/ETB Network as well. Whew. Anything left to say, Anthony, before we close it out here?
I think you summarized it up pretty well. And like I said, we got football starting. We got some good UFC fight cards coming up. So we got a lot of good things in the sports world coming up.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But that'll do it for this episode. He's Anthony Balester. I'm Nick Morgasen. We will see you next week for episode 283 of Empty the Bench. Have a good day, everybody.